What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a Danger Darkworld deck profile. This is, of course, a going second deck, about as going second as a deck can get. This is one of the most going second decks of all time. Although there is a going first build going around. We might do it on the channel. We don't know. We're still trying to figure it out. But there is somebody I know that built it to go first. We'll see how that goes. But this is the going second build. We start off with 3 copies of Grapha, Dragon Lord of the Darkworld. Basically, this card lets you bounce a Darkworld monster back to your hand in order to special summon it from the graveyard, which is very good. It's a pretty broken summoning condition. On top of that, when this card is discarded, you can pop a card on your opponent's side of the field, which is a terrific effect. But remember, with Darkworld cards, if they're discarded for cost, they don't get their effects. They only get their effects if they are discarded by a card effect like card destruction or something of the sort. They are never discarded. You can never use them if you discard them off of like trading or something. So that is that. And then we play 2 copies of Lucent. Basically, this card, if it's discarded at all by a card effect, you can special summon it, and it's a pretty large monster. It's 2400 attack, and it's with the field spell it's 27. But then if it gets discarded by your opponent's card effect, you can special summon a fiend from the deck to either player's side of the field. So that second effect is usually not going to go off unless you're playing some sort of a mirror match or something, or your opponent just happens to activate card destruction. They happen to be playing it, but the first effect is still pretty crazy. It's a 2400 attack level 6 monster just for being discarded, and you're going to be able to discard it very easily. Then we play 3 copies of Brow, Huntsman of Darkworld. Basically, this card is an amazing, it's like Pot of Greed almost every single time. Well, because you're always like adding, like, let's say you activate a danger card, and then they discard this. You're going to summon the danger, draw a card, and this card is discarded. You draw another card. So I just love this card. It's like an Upstart Goblin over and over and over and over again, and it's searchable, and it gives you free draws into more dangers and more Dark Worlds. I just think this is one of the better. This is probably my favorite Dark World card. Then we play 3 copies of Snow. This searches the entire archetype, including Dark World dealings, including the field spell, Grapha, and of course the monster I just showed you, Brow, Lucent, everything. It literally searches the entire archetype, so I absolutely love this card too. Then we play for our Danger package. So that is all the Dark Worlds. We play 2 copies of Jackalope, 2 copies of Danger Tsuchinoko, 2 copies of Danger Chupacabra, because in this deck it is actually better than in other decks because you can banish it from the graveyard because it is a fiend. And on top of that, we play such a high volume of dangers that we're guaranteed to have at least one in the graveyard to special summon back. Because I know in other decks it's a little frustrating to see this in your opening hand because sometimes it gets discarded and you have no target, so it's like a dead hand, like a dead card sometimes. But we play, like I said, such a high volume of dangers that you're almost guaranteed to see it. Then we play 2 copies of Mothman, 2 copies of Nessie because it's what's legal, 3 copies of Danger Bigfoot because this one is good for rank 8 plays. This is a going second deck, so this will help you OTK because it's 3000 attack. Like I said, it's really good for rank 8 plays. It's really good for link summoning. It's a really good super poly target in case you like you can attack with this, attack with another one, super poly, and then attack again. So it's good for that. It's one of the better ones in this particular deck. And then on top of that, because it's going second, when it is discarded, it pops a card, which is extremely helpful. Then we play 2 copies of Thunderbird. This is sort of the other level 8. This one, when it's discarded, it pops a set card. This, when it's discarded, pops a face-up card. So they're kind of the yin and the yang. And they're both level 8, and this is 2800 attack too. It's very strong. And we play 1 Ogopogo. This card is good, but it's not like super good. Like it's very good for what it does because it sends a danger card from your deck to the graveyard, which is always going to be this danger response team card. You're never going to send anything else because you wouldn't want to send any of your other dangers to the graveyard for any reason, unless you're just like trying to free space in the deck, for example. But yeah, this one is more of like you're probably going to link it away. It's only 1200, or you're going to XYZ with it. Then we play some of the cooler cards. We play 1 Lava Golem, and I'll show you later why I play 1 Lava Golem. If you don't know what Lava Golem does, basically you can tribute to your opponent's monsters, and then it's kind of like non-targeting, non-destruction removal. It's really insane. I love Lava Golem. It's probably one of my favorite cards of all time. we play 1 copy of Chaos Dragon Levianeer. This card is just, again, rank 8 plays and then just attacking. All it requires in this particular deck is 3 Dark Monsters in the graveyard, and then when you summon it, you can take a card of your opponent's hand, and they have to shuffle it back into their deck, which is pretty busted. And then we've got 2 copies of Fantastical Dragon Phantasme. This is just to fix our hands, because this is a going second deck. This card is basically always live against most decks, because at least most decks at this time will summon at least 1 Link Monster. Most decks at this time will summon at least 1 Link Monster. We don't know how things will go in Master Rule 5, but right now, like, everyone basically summons at least 1. Even like something like Altergeist summons at least 1 Link Monster. And you can get your +1, draw, fix your hand, do all types of stuff like that. So that is all the monsters. Huge amount of monsters, but dangers will make that very smooth. Play 1 copy of Gates of Darkworld. We don't need to play more than 1 because it is searchable through Snow. And Snow is not once per turn, and neither is this card. Then we play 2 copies of Darkworld Dealings. So the field spell is very good because it's basically Darkworld Dealings, but your opponent doesn't participate in it. And Darkworld Dealings is, of course, good too because you both draw a card and discard a card. But you're OTKing them anyway, so it really doesn't matter whether or not they draw a card. I mean, unless they draw into a hand trap, that's like the worst case scenario. But for the most part, they're not going to. Then we play 1 copy of Card Destruction. This is like a blowout card. When you draw this, you're like almost guaranteed to win. You're like, there's no way that your opponent will be able to respond properly when you draw this, because you have so many cards going off at once. Sometimes you'll activate Card Destruction, you'll activate 5 cards in the graveyard, and it's like what is your opponent supposed to do? They can't call by the grave everything. They can't negate everything. There's 5 chain links going off. And then on top of, you're getting 5 new cards that are going to do the exact same thing. And I would say some of them, at least 2 or 3 of them, are going to be danger monsters. So you're going to be able to do the same thing all over again. It's just, when you draw this, it's like impossible to lose. Then we play 3 copies of Trade-In. This is because we play a high volume of level 8, so we're going to be able to discard, draw 2. Remember, when you discard Grapha off of Trade-In, you don't get its effect, but when you discard Danger, what's that thing called? The Danger Thunderbird, when you discard Danger Bigfoot, when you discard Ogopogo, when you discard those cards, you do get their effects. Then we play 3 copies of Allure of Darkness. Incredible card. Basically, our entire main deck is dark with the exception of the Lava Golem. We're always going to have targets, not a concern. We play 1 Danger Response Team. This card is really awesome. Whether you draw it and get it discarded with a Danger, whether you discard it with a Darkworld Dealings, like, this card is so good in the deck. I would play more, but it's a hard once per turn. That's the only reason I don't. And you basically will go through it every single time anyway. Ogopogo is great with this card. Like, this card is extremely good. But basically, this lets you target a danger on your side of the field and target a monster your opponent controls and bounce them back to the hand. So, again, going second, that's very good because it bounces your opponent's monster and then you don't have to deal with it. That's another monster that's off their field, so when you attack, you can definitely OTK. But on top of that, it lets you put a danger back into your hand, and the dangers are not once per turn. So you can just reactivate the effect to reveal and then pick and then special summon and draw. You can activate that effect all over again, which is super awesome. And then its second effect is that when this card is in the graveyard, you can discard a danger monster, place this card on the bottom of the deck, and then draw a card. So that'll trigger the danger effect, and you'll get a card, and this will be kind of right back in the deck to use later. But very, very awesome card. Then we play this card, the Dark Spirit Mastery. This is a card that came out in the Bakura set, which was the Legendary Duelist Immortal Rival. What's the full name? Immortal something. I don't remember what it was, but it was Immortal something. But basically, you discard a card, cost, so it doesn't trigger like a Darkworld, but it does trigger the dangers. Discard a card to search a level 8 fiend, and that is why I play our homeboy, Lava Golem. It actually makes Lava Golem searchable. It is a hard once per turn, but it makes Lava Golem searchable, and also, perhaps more importantly for most, it makes the Lord of the, it makes Grapha searchable, basically. So, it's a really awesome card. I like it. I mean, I've considered playing more, but my issues with it is that, it is a hard once per turn, so it's like, is it worth playing multiples of a card that's, like, you have so many draw cards and search cards, you're going to see most of these cards anyways. Is it really worth playing multiples of them? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. but so far I'm pretty comfortable with one. And then we play 3 copies of Super Poly because it's amazing in this deck, and I'll show you my extra deck and it'll just kind of reveal why it's so good. And then we play 2 copies of Infinite Impermanence because it's the best hand trap in the game, and you can just set it if you didn't use it. Like the problem with hand traps like Ash Blossom and Ghost Ogre and stuff like that is if you don't use them, for example, you end up like discarding them, for example, with the dangers, and you get nothing off of it. And it's kind of like it's a pretty big minus for you if you discard something like an Ash Blossom because you didn't get to use it and you just lost it for no reason. But Infinite Impermanence you can just set and just leave it face down and then use it. Let's say you go into a grind game, you could just use it later on, which is really cool. But that is the entire main deck. Might bump that up to 3. I'm still considering it. I do have the 3rd, but so far I've been pretty comfortable with 2. Next up, we've got the extra deck here. First up, we play 1 copy of Starving Venom Fusion Dragon. Basically, it's any 2 darks, so very good. This is very good when you're going second because you can either fuse away your opponent's field, or you can attack with multiple of your monsters and activate Super Poly and then go into this and attack again. Or you can crash it and destroy your opponent's field, which is another like pretty insane tactic. We have 1 Predaplant times 3, which is basically any 3 dark monsters on the field. So it's this with 3 monsters instead of 1, instead of 2. But this card's insane because it allows, basically after you do special summon it, it's basically like a solemn warning. Or, which is just like anytime your opponent special summon a monster, you just negate it from the extra deck. You could just negate the summon, so you get rid of 3 of their monsters, and then on top of it, you negate a summon. Then we've got the Mud Dragon. This is just more Super Poly stuff. Diplexer Chimera for Salamangrates. And then we've got the Xyz Monsters. We play Cypher. This lets you kidnap monsters. The number 38 Hope Harbinger. This is awesome because it negates spells and it forces your opponent to attack it. The Galaxy Eyes Photon Dragon. This lets you play against Nibiru if you happen to be going first, or even if you happen to be going second and you know your opponent's playing a slower control deck, because a lot of your monsters in the main deck are really, really big anyway. You have monsters that are 3,000, 27, 28. Like, you have really strong monsters already. Lucentis 24. You can OTK anyways. So if you know your opponent's going into, for example, if you know for a fact that your opponent has a Nibiru, or it seems like they have a Nibiru, you can just make this quick rank 8 and then just keep playing. And then when they activate Nibiru, you just negate it with Photon Lord. So it's really good for that. And then for our Link monsters, we have a few different interesting ones. Play Barricade Blocker, or Barricade Borg Blocker. So this card's really good because you can, when this card's summoned, you can discard a card to add back a continuous spell or field spell back to your hand at the end phase. And you're probably thinking, like, what are we going to add back? Well, you can actually add the Gates of Darkworld back if you needed to. But this lets you discard a card, and although that is a although discarding the card is cost, it will trigger your dangers, but it lets you continue, right? So you basically use these two, and then you can also, like, let's say you summon a bunch of dangers, you go into Barricade Borg Blocker, and, you know, discard the card, trigger another danger, and then 2 more monsters, you go into the Security Dragon, and these will be co-linked like so, and then this lets you bounce one of your opponent's monster, and then after that you link these 2 away and go into the Crusadia Avermax. And this card going second is bananas. It will literally get over any monster in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh, because it gains the attack of whatever they have, and then you can just, like, use the rest of your hand, Super Poly, whatever you have to basically wipe them out. You have so much draw power, so much summoning ability in this deck, that you have such easy access to Mech Knight Crusader Avermax just through these cards, and on top of that you get to discard and you get to bounce, basically for free, just for link climbing, and then you get a monster that can destroy almost any monster by battle, and after that, when this card leaves the field, you shuffle a card away non-targeting. It's just insane. Then we've got Nightmare Unicorn, deal with our problems, and this can also work for co-linking with the Security Dragon. We've got the Saryuja. Sometimes the Yugioh really helps because it makes your monsters gain attack, and which can help you win. Or Yugioh is really good just for digging into your deck and putting more dangers in your hand, or just kind of fixing your hand and helping you continue the plays. We play a 1 Wee Witch Apprentice. This is another card really helpful for OTKing because it gives you 500 attack for all the darks. All we have basically is darks. 1 Appaloosa Bow of the Goddess, and 1 Boral Sword. One last thing I would like to mention about the Security Dragon, which is awesome. What I like about Security Dragon, since you do mostly special summon, like let's say you summon Bearborg Blocker, like I said, and then afterwards you summon Security Dragon, you can tribute 2 of their monsters. Like let's say your opponent makes a gigantic field, and you have a Lava Golem in hand, and basically a ton of dangers. You can use Lava Golem, summon Lava Golem in their side of the field, and then use all your dangers, summon the appropriate amount of monsters, summon Bearborg Block or discard a card, maybe it's a Tsuchinoko, summon another danger. Then you go into the Security Dragon, activate the effect of Security Dragon, add back Lava Golem, and then you can go, okay, I added back Lava Golem, now I can summon another Lava Golem, should be 2 more of their monsters, and then summon Lava Golem again, which is a pretty broken thing, because summoning Lava Golem is not once per turn. You can summon as many times to your opponent's side of the field as you want. You can even tribute a Lava Golem for a Lava Golem. So, that's a pretty broken little combo with Security Dragon. That's why I think I might bump up the Lava Golem to 3. But that is basically it. I think I kind of skimmed over the Appaloosa and the Boral Sword, but basically, yeah, you've got the OTK card, and this is really good for... this card's really good for playing over Nibiru. You just make sure... Let's say your 4 summons in, you don't have 2 level 8s to make the... You don't have the 2 level 8s to make the Photon Lord. You can just... First thing you do is you summon 4 monsters, you go into Appaloosa, and they have nothing they can really do. They can't Nibiru you, so it's good for playing against Nibiru and just generally. But yeah, that is the deck. Really enjoying it. It's one of the best going second decks out there, I think. But thank you for watching.